Welcome to Tour Buds Live. I am your host, Andy, and I'm here with my co-host, Derek G. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How you doing? All
good.
Out? What's the occasion?
Yeah, we are. We're dressing nice today for a very special occasion for a very special guest. We have, listen, if you have someone important on, you need to leave a lasting impression and you need to let them know that they are respected. You show them respect. Today we will be talking to the quote unquote mayor of Long Island, the Godfather, Daniel Valentino, and he will be on very shortly. And I'm looking forward to that. How do you feel about it?
I'm very excited. This is first time talking to and meeting Dan. Seems like he's been doing a lot of great stuff in Long Island for a long time.
Yeah, he's very influential over there. He's a very important man, but he's awesome. And he's one of those people. I'm the oldest of my siblings. And so I've never had like an older brother figure, but he is that for me. And he's been there for me. And he's like he's a great dude. And it's something that like most people know, even like, so we talked to Joe Bad from Fit for an Autopsy last week, which was awesome. It was a great, fun interview. Even he had something to say about that. Shall we share his words?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I would like Dan to see this.
All right, let's bring it up.
Yeah. So we have Dan Valentino actually next week. Who Joe Bad knows Dan. They were in a band together, Shepherds. And he's going to be on. And so his story is very cool. So I would
dude, his story is going to be fucking awesome because that dude, he's the legend of Long Island. He's the mayor.
He's the mayor of Long Island.
He's the mayor of Long Island. Like he needs to be mayor of Long Island. Like I know he just is. It's just how it is. Like he's just like unbeknownst. Like everyone just knows it. Like he's the fucking guy.
He's the guy.
If you need anything in Long Island, you go talk to Danny V. All right, go talk to Danny V. If you need anything in Long Island, go find Danny V. You'll see him slinging burgers, slinging chicken wings, slinging pizzas, maybe throwing a little bit of ice cream. He's slinging it all. What do you need? I got you. I'm Danny V.
Hey, Danny, how you doing, baby?
I love him so much. I miss him so much. He's one of my favorite people on the planet.
Yeah,
I honestly, I don't think I would be in this position of where I'm at if it wasn't for our friendship and like him getting me into Shepherds and like doing this thing and helping motivate me to get further into my career.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Danny V is a huge inspiration for me as well.
Maybe we'll get a little Joe Bad in the chat next week.
Yes. There it is. And with no further ado, let's chat with Mr. Dan Valentino. Dan, there you are, Dan. Welcome to the show. How are you?
How you doing? Hey, guys.
What's happening?
Good. Really nice intro.
You like that?
Yeah.
Do you like how... Listen, can I tell you something? So we wanted to show you the utmost respect by dressing up. Now it's the winter time now, and I have been eating a little bit. I haven't been moving as much. I can't button the top of my, so it's like I'm a little sloppy. I can't button the top of my shirt here. So, but I did try my best for you, Dan. How do you think that I look handsome enough? What do you think?
You both look very, very handsome, and I feel underdressed. You know, I showed up in like a tuxedo or something. You know?
No. Just we want you as you are, my friend. We want you as you are. Well, listen. Welcome to Tour Buds. This is a show that Derek and I started because we've been filming an actual show last year, and what we've been doing is interviewing bands like backstage and getting into their lives and their vans and their personal space. Mm-hmm. And during the time that now it's kind of being edited, but we want to do something. We wanted to do something that's still related and pushing the brand, and we're getting into people's lives and. And now we're here and talking to you, and you've been insanely influential, not just in music, but in business and in Long Island. And we wanted to dive into your story. So thank you so much for being on, man.
Yeah, that's great. I'd love to talk about it. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of people. I've done a lot of things, and it was really nice just listening to what Joe Bad had to say. We were roommates for a while in bands together. So that's little brother, respectfully. I don't want to be like he's a little kid, but he was always a younger, brother style to me, and love that guy.
Yeah. Well, honestly, not to get like too serious about it, because I do get emotional. I'm trying not to do that. But you've meant a lot to me. There was a time, you're a little bit older than me, and I looked up to you before I got to play with you in Love for Enemies. I listened to you guys. I was a huge fan of you guys, and I don't even know how that all transpired, but I was a big fan. And then we ended up all like hanging out all the time. And so I always looked at you as an older dude, so like older brother. And there was a time, I think we were all hanging out at Kevin's house. You guys, I was supposed to go there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even 21 at the time, probably 19. And I was drinking and I was driving. Fucking idiots. And I don't know if you remember the story, but hold on. I need to take a sip of this coffee. I was driving, right? And something happened where I swerved and I hit a curb and my tire popped and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Who did I call? I called you. You drove over, and it was like 2:00 in the morning. You drove over, changed my fucking tire because I was a dumb idiot and had no idea how to change a fucking tire. You changed my tire. You took care of me, and you got me to Kevin safely. And that's the end of that story. But the bottom line is, you're a person that people feel safe around. You make people feel really good. You make people feel safe, and you take care of people. And that's an amazing quality. So thank you.
You're welcome. I forgot about that, but yeah. And I do it again, buddy, but just don't ever do that.
No, I don't even drive anymore. I live in New York City. I live in the city, so I gave up my car.
Okay.
I'm just taking the train nowadays. But so I would love to, like, before we really want to get into, especially Derek. Derek is like all horned up talking. He wants to talk about the business stuff, right,
Yeah.
Derek?
I know
you
you do. I'm very intrigued. I love to hear people's stories getting into like success in business and all that fun stuff. So Can't wait to pick your brain a little later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to save that best part for last, but I kind of want to dive into your story as far as, A Love for Enemies is concerned, because I feel like that was probably, you've been in other projects, but that was probably your biggest project, right?
That was the biggest project. That was one that was the serious project. And the way that you just said you like looked up to me, that was me in that band. I was the youngest one when it started, and I had Bill and Bardo, and then it was AJ was original drummer at the time, and Adio. They were all older than me, so I had the same experience as you did for me, but with them, and learned how to go on tour from them. And I was a lot younger. We were touring when I was 16, 17. Which is cool.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first time I was on the road with you guys, I think I was like maybe 18 or 19, which is kind of insane to think about it now in my late 30s, like how, I was a child.
We were children, and we had no real cell phones. We had a sidekick towards the end, I think. MapQuest and directions, fixing the van by ourselves, driving with broken axles on trailers, and it was literally insane that our parents let us do that.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I think that it's either you have permission or you just do it anyway.
I just said I was in a Christian band. They're like, oh, whatever, it's cool.
That's true. Wait, are your parents Christian?
Catholic.
So they were just like happy that you were not into some devil worshiping band, but then they heard the screaming.
When they heard the screaming, it was like, you're totally lying. This is definitely, evil music. I'm like, it's not. I swear it's not.
I think I actually wanted to touch on like the fact that we toured with no GPS. Like, I think we toured with, I think I got to, but like, what was it like being on the road, having to MapQuest everything, and what was that whole journey like? Well, I'm sure it was like at first freaky. I don't even know how to read a map, Dan.
I'm really making me feel old. Really being organized, but being kids at the same time, like it was always like the contract for the show, the promoter's phone number, which was usually just like his house phone. So you'd be hoping that he was home if you got in trouble and needed to get to the show, the MapQuest directions, and then any little information in a binder. You lose that binder, that's it. You're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
The Road Bible. We had those for a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the Road Bible. And you guys were pretty much, you were signed to smaller labels and then eventually got signed to Face Down, right? It was like some like local labels before that?
Yeah, I joined the band when they already had an EP out, something else. I learned that stuff, and we really truly just were a local Long Island band. Because I came up going to punk shows with my brother and some other like local kids, and my mom was great. She would load up the Suburban and drive us to shows, which was so cool when they're like ska shows and stuff. Until I went to my first hardcore show, and I started going. I found out the Long Island hardcore scene first, which was awesome. And then I met the Love for Enemies guys. Like, no, there's all these Christian bands that are really good. And from there, I'm like, no, these bands are really good. But it was different because there was no more Christian bands on Long Island, so we were unique in that respect, which is really cool.
You know what I appreciated about A Love for Enemies is like that it wasn't like, I like that. I mean, Eric's my boy too. Like I loved that Eric wasn't so like he was just, one of the things he always said and repeated that meant a lot to me. It was like, just believe, like find out what you believe in. Be serious and be intentional about your beliefs. It wasn't just believe in Jesus and that's it.
No, we were never about that. And that also made us different too. We were like the same way. I love Earth Crisis, but I'm not straight edge and I'm not vegan. It was the same thing. Like just be more about being passionate about something and being a good person and finding your way. And then within the hardcore scene as well, which was so important to us. And that was always cool. So we were a little bit different in that. We definitely were not on stage preaching. And I guess there's a place for that, but that wasn't our bag. We didn't want to do that. We didn't even really like playing the Christian festivals. Like it was cool and like it would help financially because if you can play a bunch of shows, hit the festival, some church is paying you a bunch of money. You're like, great, that's awesome. We'll take it. We're going to keep going, doing our thing. But really just playing within the hardcore scene was more important. And that was so important to all the goals we had. And we had a small goal to get on Face Down. And then we got that. And then another record and a European tour. And it was just one stepping stone after another. And way bigger than we thought we were going to be. And we weren't big at all, but we passed all the goals that we wanted to do, which was
you did stuff that most bands don't get a chance to do.
Yeah.
That's success. Yeah. That's success to me.
Oh, for me, yeah.
How long were you guys like doing stuff local? Like, I guess, were they already touring like a little bit really when you joined, or did you kind of like, were you part of that startup on the road?
I was part of the startup. They did. It was Kingston, New York was always like, they'd have shows up there. So we did weekends, but like that really was the extent of it. Right before I joined the band, they did a tour down to Florida with Under Oath and Me Without You, or they played a bunch of shows with them in Florida. And that was like, I want to join this band because they're already doing some cool stuff like that. But that was all they did. And then when I joined, I really was motivated to like keep the wheels going. We all were. We're like, we can actually do this. We have people that are behind us. We play Long Island all the time. We love it, but let's see what we can do with this. We're all young. Let's go.
What makes kids, like what made you think that you could do it? I think maybe there's a level of delusion in thinking, you could be a rock star, but I think that's you kind of need that, right? To have a level of success.
Yeah, and not to be humble, but I truly never wanted to be a rock star. I thought the songs were okay. I thought they were good enough that we can get kids jumping off the stage. That's all I really cared about. Like that was the thing, we made just enough money to keep going. I would have loved to come home with money. I think that happened maybe twice, but I mean, come home like, I don't know, pay a car bill, pay a phone bill, whatever, nothing real. But I just wanted people to go off of the shows. That's it.
And they did. And Dan, they did. Speaking of going off at a show, I'm going to show you a clip, and I want to chat about this real quick. So bear with me while I figure this out. And I'm going to do this. Right? Watch this. This is something that affected me a lot, and I think it affected you too, Dan.
First ever birthday mosh pit. Let's have fun. Back away from me. Oh God.
Dan, that show, I was there, and I was one of those kids on stage, dude. I went from one of those kids on stage to playing drums with you guys eventually at the tail end of your run, but like, or I guess maybe in the middle since you guys did other stuff after that. But that show, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that was a pivotal moment. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like people saw that, and that was like a viral video before viral was even a thing. I feel like people saw that, and then people started doing that all the time at that part of the show.
Yeah, actually, now you think about it, I kind of take that, not, I guess, for granted. When you look back on it, when we play that song, everyone goes on stage, and it was every time, which is really freaking cool, And actually, that era though, that you just showed, like, I remember that era very fondly, like 2004.
And if you are able to really try to remember, you were somewhere in that, like in the midst of that. It was like you were buried. Like, how do you remember that? Can you take me through that?
That would happen all the time. I'm just like running. But it's like, and that's just the spirit of hardcore, that it's always in good fun. You can see me. I'm literally just knocking myself on that Bardo, and he's like, "Oh God, I'm stuck here." It's funny because that's what it is. It's like everyone's having a good time. You have a rough week, and you get to go to the show and let it out. And if we were there and people got that, that's what we were going for. And then look at you. You were like, "This is sick." Yeah, that's it. That's worth it.
That affected me. That specific show at the downtown, rest in peace downtown, that specific show made me so fucking, I was like, I want to be a part of this. Cool. I don't know what the fuck this is. I need to be a part of this.
Were you in bands, Andy, at the time, or not yet? Were you in bands already at that time, or not yet?
I think I was like just learning how to play the drums at that time. Like, I wasn't very.
That was like a solidifying moment.
For sure. Dude, that show.
You're a very good drummer. I loved playing with you. So you really, if you're just learning then, you picked it up quick because you're a really tight drummer.
Yeah, I actually locked myself in my father's basement for maybe 3 years, and that's all I did was like listen to music and try to break it down. And I played to a metronome really slowly, and then I built my chops up to like, play all that stuff. So yeah, getting to play with you guys, and I feel like we were doing some cool shit toward, and then you guys called it quits. But I feel like that was like, it felt great playing with you. It felt just so tight.
It was so tight. I mean, of all the iterations, like I knew when you were behind the kid, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be sick." It's literally playing to a metronome, and I mean that's the highest compliment but you still had the flow and the vibe. You're in the pocket, but I was like, I know this breakdown is going to hit because every chug is going to get syncopated and it's going to sound dope. And when we brought you in, was some of the biggest shows we ended up playing. It was like, we're going to keep this band going. Andy wants in. Well, he's going to be great for these bigger shows when we have to put on, we really put on. And you did great.
We got to play Cornerstone together, and I think that's a very interesting festival. There was one story I really wanted you to like help me remember from your point of view. Do you remember that massive food fight at Cornerstone that Luke started with the Canadians?
Only barely, but Luke did so many silly things. It's like a blur. I remember him screaming about the Canadian. I don't know what that was. And not all the Cornerstones blend into one, but I was going before I was playing, and Cornerstone was a big goal. One of the goals, like I said, it was like a big goal for the band was that, like, not doing anything in particular, but we want to play Cornerstone. So we, when we first went to Cornerstone, we brought our own stage and had Beloved play. We had, I think, Me Without You did a set. I don't remember. We had the Generator stage, and we played the Generator stage until we actually got on the stage. So if you put out a Cornerstone story, there was so many. Man, it's really good to think about. Those days were awesome. Those days were great.
I remember that, like, all of those little Generator stages, and like, I think you have to grind, right? Until there shouldn't be that level of I deserve to be on the main stage or whatever, which we did get to play some fucking sick stages together. Yeah. But that is like, you have to bust your ass in order to get there. Yeah. And, and I'm sure you guys broke down a bunch. I mean, do you have any interesting stories in the van where you guys, like, you ate shit, your van broke down, you had to take care of each other?
I have the van broke down all the time, and most of the time the AC was broken. So that was just the thing. And it was like some mystery on that the AC could never be fixed.
You must have the same car salesman as me.
Oh my God, it was the worst. And Adio, I love Matt, but I'm just like, Matt, he goes, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm like, could you please figure it out? Like, you're going to be in the van sweating with me. I know you're a skinny guy, but I'm a big guy. I'm going to be sweating, dying over here. No, I mean, we had lots of gnarly stuff. I mean, one thing that sticks out was not to us, but we were on tour Straight from the Path, and we were in West Virginia, and we had a couple days off. We were going to go play Augusta, Georgia, which was like a really good, that scene at that time was really good, especially for us. And we were in West Virginia. Tom from Stray, he's like, well, my family has a like this log cabin we can stay at. It was like a log mansion, and it was awesome. So it was us and Straight from the Path having the best damn time. 2 days off. Lamelli, that's when Lamelli first joined the band. Didn't know how crazy Lamelli was, so we learned that. And the story kind of goes on a bad turn because Stray's transmission went. They dropped it off the local Jiffy Lube or whatever, and we left their trailer behind the Jiffy Lube. And even when we're like, I don't know if that's a great idea. I don't know if it's a great idea to leave the trailer there. Anyway, we go back to the cabin. We're partying for 2 days, having like the best time ever. That was like Alfie's party days we don't talk about. And just a bunch of guys. And go back. We're all in the Alfie van. We turn the corner, and Luke, being Luke, wouldn't it be crazy if the trailer was stolen? And we turn the corner, and the trailer's gone.
Oh.
And they, Justin Manis, it was like his dad's guitar head. The drums were stolen. It was everything. So it was awful, obviously. But we put Straight from the Path and The Love for Enemies in the same van. They used our equipment and some other equipment from other bands, and we kept touring. So it was terrible. And we raised some money after when we got back. But just stuff like that, it was just nuts. Like I had Drew from Stray like sitting on my lap for like 8 hours,
Wow.
They had no clothes left, or like borrowing clothes, which is like, I borrow socks, man. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We've got to figure this out. We got to keep it going. We could have went home. We're like, we're already here. We're in West Virginia. Let's just keep playing. At least the shows we'll have fun at. We'll try to get your mind off of it. And that's the camaraderie and stuff that you wouldn't get if you were just in a rock band,
Yeah. Oh,
it's so crazy. Like, being that young and that shit happened, and you're still like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, we're going to battle through this. And like, those are all, every band that really makes it somewhere, I feel like has a story or a situation like that happen to them. Just gonna, persevere through and kind of grow.
Yeah, and it makes everything more worth it, and you learn and all that good stuff. In the moment, terrible, but then you look back and you're like now I'm like, wow. And then now Straight from the Path still playing. They're huge.
Yeah, massive.
And the best dudes, some of my best friends. And it's just cool that that's like everything's done. Like, no, let's just keep going. We'll figure it out. We'll get a benefit show when we get home. That's everyone's going to show out for you guys. It's fine.
And that's very true. And that's exactly what happened. But I love, well, it depends on the band and how they react, but I really love, and I've experienced this where I've been on tour and, in Letter to the Exiles after I was in a band with you. We've toured with bands that like then blew up, and for the most part, I'm so excited for them and proud, but there was a couple of moments, and the show being what it is, I'm not going to say who, but there may be one or two bands that got big and I kind of forgot about us. Did you ever experience that? Or not even just forgot, like we would play festivals together and like they wouldn't like it almost felt like they forgot who you were.
The short answer is yeah, but then years later, because we're all young, you got to remember we were all doing that. We were all really young. So when they got big a couple years later, they were still young and they were still like, whatever. But coming back around, like a lot of those big bands I'll still talk to or whatever, but not that it matters anymore. They're not going to really put us on, but it just is what it is. And I think when we eventually talk about what I learned from touring and how I what literally didn't go to business school, but I learned so much from all these experiences is you can only worry about, the four walls that you're in. If they didn't want to help you or do anything, that's fine. You work harder. You know what I mean? If they want to come help, that's great. You reciprocate it. But you got to keep it, there was one time we pulled up to Face Down Fest and I feel like every freaking band got an ESP guitar endorsement. The guitars coming out of everywhere. Everyone's just opening boxes like it was Face Down Fest Christmas. And that's great for all of them. But we were young and I was like, I don't know, man, it kind of stinks. I kind of could use a free guitar right now. And it's like, it was Bardo and me. We're talking about just we can't worry about that, because in reality it doesn't matter. Their manager reached out in the right time, someone sales team had the right friend, and you learn that more now that I also own a music venue. It's timing, it's networking, it's stuff. And when you're younger, you can get wrapped up and bitter about, oh, that band didn't put us on. They're worrying about what's in their van. They'll hopefully try to put you on, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, a lot of bands.
But I feel like that's a mature response. Like I don't think that's how we all dealt with it in our early 20s or mid 20s, right? So we actually spoke with Michael Reisinger of Sinai Beach, and he kind of talked about that. He said it was like it stole so much joy, kind of like looking at what other bands are doing or getting that they're not, maybe, and it's like, but isn't that so hard to not do?
It's so hard to not do.
I feel like I'm saying with experience, you realize you'll eventually get yours, and you have to be happy for people and be grateful. And that is true. But I feel like at the time when you're younger, it's hard because you just don't understand, and you just want why am I not getting that ESP guitar? Like, I'm busting my ass too, and we're doing really well.
I think too, and it's a real thing, and I've talked to other people about it, again, being in the music industry now. And, my partner, Jake Zimmerman, who works for the Wasserman Group, is a big booking agent he's Knock Loose's agent, so I hear about everything that's going on. And our era, Andy, that was very different, because it was like hardcore bands and metal bands were worried about being on the cover of Revolver and getting in the magazine and being on the back page of this and then getting on this tour. I feel like where Alfie stumbled, and Bardo would say too, we were like, why didn't we get this tour? Why didn't we get this agent? Why didn't we get this, that, and the other thing? It's so much about networking and luck and intangibles. But it was weird because, bands like Killswitch and God Forbid and Lamb of God and Shadows Fall, they were always in these magazines. So we thought that's the next progression. Hardcore started in the 80s, the 90s, it got metallic, 2000s were starting to get big. Maybe that replaces big rock. And that was a kind of a shitty way to look at everything, because everyone's just so worried about getting on. I don't know what those tours used to be called, like those Summer Slaughter tours or whatever.
Yeah.
And in reality,
Warped Tour.
Well, Warped Tour. Yeah, Warped Tour. In reality, did that even do a lot for those younger bands that managed to squeeze on? Probably not. You got to open for Killswitch for a month. Great. Yeah. Worry about writing better songs and it will work itself out, So
yeah, that's great.
Is that the crew that you guys were kind of around, like that Northeast Scott Lee group?
Scott Lee is one of my really good friends, but I'm only recently friends with him. He was one of the guys that I wanted to work with, so it's funny now that we're such homies.
So we were from up there, so we used to play the Palladium all the time. That was our kind of grounds, and we used to just pester Scott all the time, and we sent him an edible arrangements once, trying to get some, just to he gets so many no's. It's all right, fuck, we'll send him something fun.
Yeah.
But he always ran such a great ship up there at the Palladium, and all those bands, Acacia Strain, Within the Ruins, Killswitch. That whole crew was always super influential, and you get to touch it a little bit for us. But never quite broke through that circle.
Yeah, I mean we didn't, but they were that was so hot then, And it was like we were so focused on being part of that. But honestly, I wish I had looked backwards a little bit more into hardcore and really what even musically in Long Island. And I think I was looking too much at that stuff because it was like popping off so much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, those bands are still playing. It's cool. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Especially Stray. They just took off.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
And they deserve everything that they've gotten and are getting. So do you guys, so speaking of, I want to go back to real quick. You got to go to Europe, which is something I didn't get to do in my time touring. I feel like that was probably next level, right? Was that one of your favorite tours? And you know what? I heard a story. One of the things that I was really impressed with was that you guys played at a venue in Germany. I think it was at the Cuckoos or something like that. The Cuckoo's Nest. And they made you play your set twice, and then you played every cover that you had, and they crowd surfed you guys. And then the bar ran out of alcohol. Is that true?
Yes, and they had us. So how old was I? I think I turned 21 in Europe. Yeah. So I was drinking the whole time because it didn't matter because the drinking age was younger. But they had us bartend. I'm like, whatever. Like, you guys are great. I'm like, okay. Do you know the story about the next morning?
No, tell me.
So in Europe, they the breakfast is my favorite in Germany because you get that fresh bread from the local bakery, and it's so cool when you all come together. So we ate breakfast at the venue the next day, and it was like Native American themed or something, but regardless, there are handprints all over the walls, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's part of like the theme. Like, no, that's Darkest Hour. Darkest Hour took a bunch of paint and put their hands all over the walls. I'm like, that's so sick. Like, you guys party.
That's so sick.
Eating breakfast, I'm like so hungover and tired and dumb. It was great.
That I didn't realize that you were, dude. Time flies, man. Like that era feels like yesterday. It's so weird.
I know. 40 years old. It's a long time ago.
It's wild.
It's with you.
Yeah, brother.
Do you It's crazy. I mean, now I'm so happy with where I'm at, and I feel like you guys seem super content. But I feel like it's still nice to remember, and I think it's important to kind of tell our stories and kind of remember certain things, and then move on and get your shit done. But I think telling our stories is important. But I do think that was what was your favorite tour? Was that on the top, or was it A Day to Remember tour?
It was A Day to Remember tour. Just because it was just so fun, and the shows were so big, but like in a fun, natural way. And we just hit it off so well, and we didn't see it coming. And also because that tour only came about because the tour we were going to go on completely fell through, and I was so depressed about that. I think it was this band, Phoenix Morning or something. Everyone kind of had similar names back then. They all dropped, and it was JJ. I think that was his name. Yeah, JJ, the booking agent for A Day to Remember, was like, I have this band, A Day to Remember. Their Victory record debut is gonna come out like the middle of the tour. And we're like, whatever, we just got to get out of here because we all took off work. We're all geared up. Let's just go. It ended up being so much fun. And we called it the March Madness tour. And we just look back in it that it was just fun. It was just like, yeah, it was awesome.
I got to play with you guys right after that tour, and that's when I did that, a few runs of shows and stuff like that. But I think it was really funny because I think most of the music that was played in the Alfie van was A Day to Remember.
Yeah, we got really into it. We fanboyed for a while there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really funny. I don't know if I ever, like, no offense, Derek, and this goes for any band. I don't think when I toured, we played Hell Within, right? Like, and I don't think you, maybe because sometimes you feel closer to those people, right? When you play their song, it's like you're missing them almost.
Yeah, it was definitely like that. That's a good way to put it, for sure.
Like hearing that, it's like, oh, you shit, we're back on tour with them, and it's like it never happened. That's such an interesting thought.
Well, yeah, we were like moshing every night because it didn't matter. We were literally just having the most fun.
That's the best. I remember us touring, Andy. We'd all be same thing. Empty room or full.
Yeah.
all the bands up front. It doesn't make a difference.
I'm going off. If no one's here, everyone's here. I'm going off. If there aren't a lot of people here, well, then that's unfortunate because I'm a big guy and I'm gonna mosh. It's gonna have fun.
Yeah. And no one's fucking with you, Dan. Listen, Derek, I don't know. Were you with me? Were you at that Missouri Signal show in Brooklyn? And
I went to the first one with you.
Oh, so that I'm not talking about the last like 2 shows. So Dan,
the first of the last 2. That's
no, I'm talking about one like in the summer before that. So I'm at this Missouri Signal show, and this place is getting fucking bananas, and out of nowhere, just like Jesus from the fucking sky, man. Dan comes in, he just stands right in front of me. I'm like, I knew it. Dan is always there, man, saving the day, and you protected me that day. I did not.
You can hold your own, brother.
I know I can do. But you know what? I'm a pretty big dude, and I can handle myself. But I felt so tiny next to you. I felt so tiny and taken care of. Dan, listen, I love the Alfie days, but then what was it? Buck Nasty. You guys broke up, and that was a big bummer for me. Fucking so pissed still. And then you guys made Buck Nasty, and then you were in Shepherds. Take me through those iterations of those projects.
Yeah, we can quickly touch on those. Those are both.
Because I'll tell you why it's important, because I think those are people that kind of affected us, right? We're talking.
For sure. Buck Nasty was a direct reaction to Alfie not being active anymore, and me and Luke were just like, that's not going to happen. Like we were in it. We wanted to keep touring, so it was like, let's make a really obnoxious band name with a really obnoxious band, and kind of be. This sounds so cheesy now, but like not. With Alfie, we had to kind of put on the show a little bit, being on Face Down, which was our own decision. They didn't force us to do anything, but it was just kind of like, it's just, you're painted as this like Christian band. But again, like we said in the beginning of this episode, we were that, but we were more about preaching hardcore and believing what you believe in. We're going to throw some stuff that we believe in there, but like you play with it. You know what I mean? So Buck Nasty was just like, all right, no preconceived notions. It's ex-Alfie, but let's try not to lean on that too much. Like use the network, but not be the guys from Alfie and like market it like that. Just be. You
guys were a party band.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Gold foil, purple shirts, zombie Elvises, the big gold foil era, silver foil, a lot of mosh. Objectively heavier than Alfie because it was just made to be like that. I think we wrote the EP in like 2 practices or something. Eamon came in hot with just like riffs, and we just vibed so hard. And then Nick and Eamon were playing together forever. So yeah, so that was that, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun, and we literally did the same thing. We just jumped on the road, like really haphazardly. Like no label support, nothing. Just go. Made our own demos and just went. And then that turned into Shepherds because we wanted to get it even heavier. Like it's really as simple as that. Like I wanted to be hard and heavy and not just this party band that was like an anti-Alfie, but just like putting that to bed. And Shepherds was like, all right, let's get serious and be like a heavier, very acacia strain influenced. And
especially because Joe was one of your vocalists.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. Well, it started with Pete, Zarzana, and Kevin. The 2 let's go 2 vocalists. Let's just really.
I think they were great too.
Yeah, that was great. I love those songs. They're simple, but they're heavy, and the timing. And I haven't played in a while, but I wish I could play a Shepherd show again. Like that, I actually send tracks to Scott Lee all the time. I'm like, we're ready to go. We're not. But, I'm like, I'll put it back together. I'll figure it out. He's like, stop sending me this shit.
That band was so fucking heavy, and then since then you really haven't done any music, right? It's been just full force business.
Yeah.
And so what was the moment and what were you going through that made you say, I'm going to get into this business venture and put music on the back burner?
Playing music on the back burner because it just life happens and you're just like, all right, I'm done with college, which I got my full bachelor's degree going to Stony Brook, but like I was in Buck Nasty doing papers on my sidekick, like writing papers on my sidekick, like reading in the, man, I'm like, I just got to graduate. And then I got back and like Shepherd's we couldn't get on the same page. It happens. It's just like, are we local? I wanted to really go for it. All the other guys are just like, let's just stay local, which I hear that story. You hear that story all the time. We're just going to be a local band. I'm like, no. I wanted to go for it. So I wasn't really doing that. And was bartending and at Leaky Lifeboat in Seaford. And that was like the punk hardcore bar that like brand new, and the Taking Back Sunday guys would show up every once in a while. And my partner Sal was in Sky King Falling and The Sleeping. So that bar was still very much in the scene. I've always, you know what I mean, without actually playing shows.
So you felt like you were still in it.
Yeah, I was still like in it. We did like a secret Taking Back Sunday acoustic show. Like we did all that. But long story short, I was bartending there, doing really well. Broadway bar, which was Village Pub South, and then it was Wrong Way In before that, and been a part of Long Island music forever. I mean, I played there when I was 14. Sal was like, do you want to get in on a project? And I'm like, I'm not doing anything really. The band wasn't that active. He's like, I can get in. And I just said, screw it. I got some money together and borrowed a couple bucks from my dad that I had to pay him back. And for very, very little money, we just took over Broadway bar. It's the right place, right time. And I learned a lot from Eric and Sal that like we could, they had just finished building Leaky. It took them a really long time because they didn't know what they were doing. They were figuring it out. And that's really how naturally it happened. I was just looking around like, all right, I'm not 21 anymore. I'm 27, I think, 27, 28. Yeah. So like, I got to kind of do something. And the opportunity like arose. And I'm like, I already know music. So if I want to get into and I know bar, so we could put that together and make it happen.
What, said you were 27, you went to school for business? You
I went to school for psychology. I didn't understand the college thing. It was fine. It was just like, went to Stony Brook. I didn't stay there. I graduated when I was 26 because I was just like, I would go on tour, take a semester off, take a couple of online classes just because I really wanted to get it done. I'm like, if I can get that done and I can choose what I want to do, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I'm just kind of like I don't know. The college thing, like it would have actually been very helpful, I guess, if I took a bunch of business classes, but I mean, for the back end and the bookkeeping and crap like that. Right. But I wish I knew more about marketing. That I wish I could really have honed in on more. I'm learning as we go. But even still, that changes all the time with new technology and social media and stuff. So anything I learned, I'm kind of learning on the fly. You're learning as the new trends happen. But yeah, I don't use my college degree for anything.
So you guys went in cold. You were like, let's do this. And you just figured it out day by day.
Yeah.
Where did, I mean, right off the bat, obviously you've got access to the bands, right? Yeah. Like it was, and that was like the main thing you was going to be stay a venue, be a venue.
Yeah. I wanted it to be a art too because I didn't know the dynamic. Like, yeah, we'll be open all the time. And if there's no shows, but that doesn't really make any sense. You got to be consistent. Like you can't build regular crowds if like one day you have a mosh show and the regulars are like, what is this? I don't want to pay a cover. So that we learned that quickly. We tried to do both, but it didn't work. But yeah, what happened was Sal and Eric owned a piece of Broadway before they went to Leaky. It became available. Sal was booking a lot of those shows on the road when he was on tour. So he'd go on tour, call home, put shows together, like that Poison the Well show that Joe Bad played with Heart of a Lion. That's like Sal. And Sal taught me how to do that. So like, this is how you book a show. This is how you collect emails. This is how you make a deal with a promoter. This is how you rent a room. He literally taught me how to do all of it.
So
That's
yeah,
cool.
so they had a little bit of knowledge. It was like here's a blueprint. Let's build and try to make it better.
Yeah, I mean, I never booked local shows or anything, but once I got the hang of it, I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
It's interesting. I think knowing that venue and playing that venue a million times, I think it's so interesting how you took it from, the venue that everyone knows and plays at, but now this is like a premier go-to spot. It's a place that, big bands are going to, and like, how did that, it took a while, obviously, but how did that happen? Take me through that process.
Well, that jumps past everything really, because we just redid the building. We just bought the building and then redid the venue and turned it into a larger cap. I'm not going to say what the cap is for legal reasons, but we turned it into a larger cap. But that only came from all the other business stuff that I learned. I wouldn't have been able to make those moves without opening and failing a lot. I failed a lot in the past 10 years. So that's more where it came to that. Because everything we did with buying the building and learning how to work with an architect and an engineer, and that only came from all my failures. That's over so we opened AMH in 2013, and we just reopened AMH 2.0 on July 7th of 2024. So a lot's happened to get to this point.
Yeah, definitely. I could imagine there's probably some fear, or maybe not, because I feel like maybe from the outside you seem like a person that just is, all right, this is what it is, I'm gonna go for it, fuck it. Did you go through any doubt, self-doubt, some fear getting into all because you've been into multiple business ventures, I know, but
yeah,
how does that feel? Because these are businesses that is like your neck is on the line.
Oh, all of them. And I mean, that's a whole other thing, because even in success, when people see how busy you are, like if you go to my first restaurant that's still open, Vauxhall, you think like, oh my God, this guy must be crushing it, because we really are that busy, and we still are that busy. And I mean, it's cool. So it's in Huntington Village on Long Island. Like even tonight, there's Silverstein and Thursday's playing the Paramount up the street. So all the people are going to us first. We also have all the regulars. We have people travel to us and stuff like that. Opening Vauxhall, I think, was the craziest thing, because I worked in a pizza place. I never worked in a restaurant before. And I had a crash course. I hired some consultants and went through 3 or 4 chefs. I never had to fire anyone in a real way before. I never had to actually make big boy decisions that hurt and suck. And that's what that taught me. And I think if I went back, I mean, I'm happy it happened, but I can't believe that one. AMH made sense. That was in our world. The restaurant thing was just, I don't know. It's crazy to think about that we turned to a full-fledged restaurant. I'm not being dramatic. We did not know what the fuck we were doing.
Restaurants are crazy. I work for a beach club down in Wildwood, New Jersey. And just seeing we're slammed. We got members. It's like a club kind of situation, and it's slammed all the time. But at the end of the day, it's just one thing after another, whether it's, taxes or whatever, and shit breaks all the time, and all that money, you're like, oh, this is going to be a great year. And then at the end of the year, you reconcile books and you're like, what the fuck?
What happened? Yeah. Even my accountant, I'm like, I'm trying, man, but you don't know. Everything just breaks. The toilet never work. The show The Bear is so on point. How it really is. that my wife doesn't like watching it. She's like, it's like I'm watching you at work, but I'm watching you watch yourself at work, and you're going bananas just watching the show. You don't relax.
It's
I'm like, that happens. That's real.
It's crazy. It's like such a kind of a thing to have, like to own a restaurant. Like it never stops. There's no breaks. It's just go at all times. So
trying to find
kudos to
balance
you for keeping it going.
man.
What was the failure? The failures.
So we were feeling ourselves, and again, we were just like, man, AMH worked. That worked. The spot next door was open, and we opened a barbecue spot, which I had no business doing. My chef was a famous, and sorry about that, guys. And he was like really into New Orleans cuisine, and I'm like, yeah, I'm watching Anthony Bourdain, No Reservation. I got it. I'm watching Chef's Table. Like I'm feeling it. I just learned everything. I didn't know anything. Opened Radio, the barbecue spot, and that never made money. No. And that was me waking up in the morning like, what am I doing? I had it so good, and it wasn't cocky. It was actual confidence. I'm like, I just do it again. And with restaurant stuff and all clubs vibes, it's just like a band or anything. Sometimes we have to back it up with great food, but a lot of times what makes it is the intangibles. In Vauxhall, when you go to Vauxhall, you want to sit, you want to drink, you want to eat some over-the-top food, and the lights are low and it's painted just right, and it's things that you write that great song and you really can't put your finger on why it's so awesome. And then we opened Radio, and I'm like, it's almost the same layout. It has an open kitchen. It was beautiful, and it just didn't hit.
Yeah.
And it was draining the other spot. That was rough. That was, when you ask about being scared, that was scary. And I like keep it inside and like realize it was ebbs and flows, but it was trending down the whole time. Yeah.
So I've never owned anything like that. What do you have to do? Like, how did you sell it or just close it?
I learned a lot. I didn't have a great lease, so no one really wanted it. The lease was very bad. I won't get into the little nuances of it, but I was like, let's try to do something that's a little more closer to who we are. So we turned Radio into New Wave Burrito Bar, which was a California themed punk. Like really just like, let's just hit it on the head. I didn't
realize you own that too. That's sick. That place is sick.
Thanks. We since sold it though to the chef.
Okay.
But it's great. No, but he's the best. He's the man. He's like, I want this. I go, I'm going to expand Amityville. I can't have this going to. I'm on the line expoing. I enjoy doing stuff. I like running food and touching tables, but I don't have the time. I have to focus. We turned that over in 5 days. We turned a barbecue spot into a Southern California style burrito spot in 5 days. And it was,
it's crazy.
It was like, we're like, what are we going to do? We kept the corporation. I'm like, we're not sinking the corporation. We have all the creditors, all the distributors like staring at us, and we made it work. We had it just good enough to just keep it rolling. And yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, same kind of situation, right? That kind of goes back to that trailer stolen. We're gonna plow through, no matter what. It's gonna work. We're gonna do it, and you just got to figure it out. And like, I think a lot of those lessons you learn being young and in a van and driving around the country when you're underage and have no business doing it, does teach you a lot of that. It kind of like embeds that into you and rolls over to all the stuff you do. It all rolls around for all the musicians I know who've done it, who've toured a little bit, even have that same kind of grit to them. And
I'm so proud to be friends with all these people that like I'm doing it in everyone's face because I have restaurants on Long Island, but like you just said, so many people that learned on the road are doing such incredible stuff. Like Chris Vedder's doing Sail Away Coffee, absolutely killing it. James Vitalo is one of the, he's Turnstile's manager, and he turned Turnstile into what they're doing. He also manages Knock Loose. Tom Williams from Stray is an incredible manager who has Counterparts and endless stuff like that. And I have friends that own venues in Ohio doing pizzerias out there. And it's so cool because it always comes back to what we learned on tour. Because like I said, college it taught me whatever. It taught me basic shit, but it didn't teach me any of this stuff.
Right. You don't get actual experience.
Yeah.
Out of college. Same kind of thing. I stopped once we started touring, and I was just like, all right, that's enough. I can stop pretending that I enjoy this or will finish it ever.
Yeah.
And I rolled right in. I mean, for me, so like I went met Andy touring up in Massachusetts. We toured the country together, became super close. Ended up with the girlfriend, wife in New Jersey, kind of going back and forth for like a year and a half, which is fucking brutal, but worth every second of it, playing in the band, coming back. And then I kind of rolled into a job down here with her family, and that I like most people for what I do, like go to college for finance or business or where I trade stocks and stuff like that now.
Mm-hmm.
But the relationship part of being in bands is what helped me, and what I enjoyed the most is like networking, talking to people on the phone, making shit together. And that's where it all comes from. I mean, and still going, and it's a blast. I love it. But it's always fun to hear the afterlife of bands and musicians and where they end up. And it always seems to be in some, I won't say always, but a lot of times ends up in a cool spot doing something different. That's cool, not just like cookie cutter.
Exactly.
Maybe it's part of like having to struggle. Like you don't get much money on the road, at least at first for a while. And maybe part of that is like you're saying, Derek, you see a lot of people being very successful after the road, life on the road in some way or another. Maybe it's just that like we've had to eat shit and survive for so long that you learn these survival skills. You bring that into real life.
Yeah. Well, other people would like panic and be like, yo, I've been here already.
Exactly.
I've seen how bad it could get. Like we're going to figure it out because we have to. We're not clocking out at 5. We're going to stay here till 4 in the morning to figure shit out.
Yeah. We're on the side of a highway with a deer in our grill. And
exactly.
2 in the morning. What the fuck are we
when
doing?
you start a new restaurant after a very successful restaurant and that doesn't work out like you thought it would, does it kind of hit your ego? How does that feel?
Not as much as I thought it would, because I also opened an ice cream shop that failed, and I just learned a lot. Like opening the ice cream shop's the first time I had to like turn something that wasn't already a restaurant. It was a camera store. I learned how to like, all right, we got to like cut the floor open and put plumbing in. Like I never did that. We had to put a grease trap in. We had to put in all of the things. So it was a huge failure, but I learned so much for it. I know how you get plans stamped and how you have to work with the building department. And like, so I almost didn't have time to be like, oh, like I look whack now because the thing failed. It's, it's a bummer, but
I feel like you're like you could do a TED talk of like just persistence and like just fuck it. Like I sometimes get lost in like those Instagram reels where you like see the people like all you have to do is start one business and then you do another one and then just like and then you get 4. And when you have 4, then you get 6. And then when you get 6, then you just turn that around and make it 12.
They got a business loan and then you buy your own houses for free. And it's a great, And I'm like, good idea. No, it's not. It's a fucking scam.
Dude, these people make it look so easy on Instagram.
It's not.
There was a time where I was lost in that, and Derek and I were like knee deep in like managing bands. And I'm like, hey, Derek, like I just saw this video and like I was like, you know what? And I just like, you get stuck, you start to believe. I'm like, I'm going to get a loan from somewhere somehow, and I'm going to get this money, and I'm going to open up this $1 million business, like building, and then we're going to open up a venue, and then we're going to manage and all this stuff. And Derek was like, Derek's funny because like he's so patient, and I'm so like, we're so different, but we click because like I'm so like I want to go, and Derek is just like patient, and he just like lets me go, and then lets me hit the wall, and then takes me back in.
You got to nicely let Andy down.
Yeah. Derek is so kind. He just knows
No,
He knows I'm going to run into the wall.
Andy's got a lot of, like he said, we're very opposite, but the wild shit he comes up with sometimes toned down a little bit is actually like the right move, or like, he gets a lot more shit done because he's more like, I don't care. I'm going to go ask this person to do something, to come on the show. Like, and I'm like, I don't know if we're there yet, but he's like, I already booked it. It's cool. It's done. So it works well together. And, this thing's relatively new, but I mean, seems like everybody's enjoying it so far. So
I'm happy for you guys. Like it's super pro, like, and it's cool. It's I've had a lot of partners over the years, and it's nice to find someone that compliments you in different ways. So that's great.
100%.
Yeah.
definitely. With AMH, knowing now like your side of it, like being on that side and having all your peers like kind of on that side now with managing and things, what would you say to bands that are like not local but not there yet, and are coming and trying to get opening slots, or like coming in and I'm sure there's a bunch of them who have no idea like what etiquette is to get your shit off the stage and be prompt, actually show up on time when you're supposed to. Like what do you think is like most important aspect, or is it just everything?
I think it's everything. I think what I don't like personally is when bands are too pro, because I see everything, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about. When a band's like too serious and they have so much equipment, and there's also a hardcore mentality where I'm just like, oh my God. And I was like that too. Shepherds had full stacks with pain in basements, like a bunch of jerk offs. But like,
Screams.
that stuff's not really important. But what is important is the respect thing. Every sound guy's a pain in the ass. Tom Malinowski, I love you, but you're a pain in the ass. He works for me for AMH for years. But that's a good sound guy, Just be respectful. Don't show up with an ego. There's nothing whacker than that when you like have 20 people come to your show and you think like, oh, it's my big show. Just like check your ego at the door. Listen to the older cats. I think making friends within the scene and building your own scene and not within the scene and not just looking like the old selling tickets era, which is done. We've never done that. There's a selling tickets, they pay to play bullshit.
Whoa, that's actually huge.
What?
That you got rid of the pay to play.
We never did that. If certain like promoters wanted to do it and they rented the room, like that's on you. But what you've seen over and over again, that doesn't cultivate a scene.
Right.
Like play with your friends, like go and support each other, and not just worry about opening for big band X, because that doesn't do shit. It doesn't matter. It's making the scene for yourself. You put on for your friends, and from the smallest so all the way up. Like that's really what it is. I've seen scenes grow. It's been, like 11, 12 years at AMH. Seen little bands like Koyo was a little band, and then now they're huge. Missing Link, their first show at AMH was fine, and now they're like the most poppin', beat down band there is. Like, just worry about your friends and playing music and having fun, and don't bug us at the venue. Just like try to make it a fun experience. Play the basement, play the VFW. You eventually play AMH. Those other places exist for a reason. They're very important. I'm like, oh, you want Massapequa VFW to not have shows? I'm like, no, you need that. You have to have that. It's so important. So play those shows, eat shit, and then write good songs, because that's what we need more of. Yeah. That's my full answer. Yeah.
Fucking preach, Dan.
Yeah.
There's I think as far as venues are concerned, what was I gonna say, Dan? I was gonna say something that related to
cold, but
to what Derek had to say. Oh, you know what? So I told you briefly that we're doing this show where we go to venues and we talk to bands behind stage, give people a little inside scoop of what life is like behind stage, blah, blah, blah. I think that, so Derek and I have been noticing that and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Like, do you feel, we feel like people, the vibe is different in a positive way. I feel like people are coming out more, at least from the shows that we've seen. We haven't really been out to Long Island yet though. But we've seen a lot of positivity, a lot of like love, a lot of people showing up out of nowhere. Are you seeing that out there?
It's a lot. I mean, what venues are you guys really going to?
A lot of Brooklyn. I mean, I'd say like one of the other things too with that is like the genre acceptance is better. It's not like this is a hardcore show, like only the hardcore kids are showing up. Like it's mixed. Like it doesn't matter. Like a hard rock, I don't want hard rock's kind of whatever, corny, but like hardcore, metalcore, metal, like all playing on the same show, and everybody's just as amped for every band.
100%.
And not just like their genre.
Yeah, when we were younger, it was like the metal kids are here, the metalcore kids are here, the youth group kids are here, the youth crew kids are here, and now that's great. It's a little weird because my definition of hardcore is so different than what the new kids, but who cares? Because hardcore is a youth movement. It's for the kids. So if they're accepting, that's great. This generation seems to be more accepting. Definitely seeing that. You want to see a spiky Liberty hair spike kid at a hardcore show. It looks like a punker. That's what's cooler than that, you know? So yeah, I'm seeing that a little bit. I like it more, you know? I'm sure the city's got a lot more of that, but we're seeing it a little bit, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to, you know, I feel like that just grows everybody's scene in general. If that's the mentality. Is that you think this is, you know, like obviously COVID, everything shut down. It was like bleak and whatever. And I feel like I was expecting like, okay, doors open, everybody rushes. And, but it seems like it took a couple years. And now it's kind of that time where like all those kids are sort of like, you know what, like we're just going to go to shows all the time.
We're getting that. Yeah, it was weird in the beginning. Then it's Long Island, and we got very, very busy for a while because people wanted to be out. You know, what was good on Long Island specifically, if we want to get into it, is like Standstill, Koyo. There's a lot of Painted Truth. There's a lot of COVID bands that popped on Long Island. So Long Island specifically, those guys are great for me because Painted Truth, like Mike Smith would be like, oh, we're playing AMH, and they'll just like play an AMH show. So that's really cool. Koyo, who's, you know, I think they're on tour with Story So Far now or something, and they'll be like, yeah, we'll play an AMH show. You know, Standstill's on Faction Punk on Sirius all the time. Those are the homies. Like Matt did all the lighting tech for the venue, and that also goes back to like with the younger bands, just hang out with each other, and everyone helps each other out. So it's good. It's definitely busy. It's good.
Yeah. So you're like, for all those bands, the more bands you come out, like home shows are yours, right? Like you're the spot for all those bands.
100%. And we're very, very grateful that we are the spot for that. Because I think, you know, everyone knows that we're coming from a good place, you know, and we employ a lot of our friends. So it's all part of the community.
Yeah. I mean, even coming from Boston area, like that AMA is always like the stop, right? Like you don't play the city really because it's a pain in the ass to even get into the city and drive a van and trailer around.
Yeah.
So like you go to Long Island, play AMH, and then you take the 32-hour trek back to New Jersey and continue on your way.
Yeah.
But it's like it always was the staple. It's always been the venue, right? Like that you just see it. Every tour flyer has it. Every band wants to play there if they're not from there. It's a really cool thing you guys built.
It's over. Thank you, and it's over. It's definitely overwhelming because hardcore meant so much to me, and to still to be that. You know, my new manager Chris McCarthy, he's in Missing Link and Internal Bleeding, and they were in Japan, and he was talking to some guy, and he knew about AMH. Like that makes sense, but it also is fucking crazy.
That's so sick.
It is crazy.
That's so sick. Yeah, so this is like your It's and you have partners too, so it's like you're in a band, but you're not. Like you're
Yeah.
you're in a group, but you're still in music.
Yeah. And everyone has their own thing. Like just like a band figures out how if you're gonna put the bridge there or the breakdown there, it's the same thing with the business stuff, obviously.
Dan, how many breakdowns have you written in your life? So many
breakdowns.
Dude, so many. I've been trying to get Derek. I've been trying to get Dan in so many of my projects like for years. So this feels like I've been begging him, but this feels like close enough for me. I'm happy. I'm happy that I didn't get him in a band that I'm in yet. I'm not going to give up, but I'm so glad that you did this with us. I love this. I appreciate you, and I would love to know what's next. What's next for Dan Valentino?
Right now, I'm literally sitting I'm in the office at Vauxhall. I'm literally sitting next to all my guitar equipment because I just cleaned the office and it's just sitting there, not being used. I'd love to write some stuff. But just like casual, like, I'm married. Just, we have a 1.5-year-old who's Layla. It's unbelievable. Like,
Congrats.
Life changing. Thank you. So a lot of time with the baby, which is so cool. Business wise, AMH has a lot of plans. So we're just I wanted to turn into, AMH was, you guys know, we were in the town of Amityville, but we weren't part of the community of Amityville, like the normies. Mm-hmm. So now we very much are with the rebuild. We take up a third of the block right in the main street. Like the mayor played open mic last week. We have that now, and I want to build that, and I want people in that town to feel comfortable to rent it for a bar mitzvah or a small wedding. So doing that stuff, molding what I know from catering from the restaurants, bringing it over there, and then just I really want to get into comedy, do really good comedy shows over there, stream it. Maybe I'll hit you guys up about how all this works, because I don't know how to do this. Yeah. But we're set up for it. So a lot of focus on Amityville, and if another bar project pops up, that's what I do. I jumped into this, feet first. There is no other job. This is all I do. So I'm always looking for the next. If there's an opportunity that I know could maybe pan out, I know what I don't want to do. I know what kind of concepts I don't want to do. But if something is like the right place, then there'll be another bar or another restaurant. But Amityville is definitely the focus right now. Oh, but my other bar, LC Lane, we're expanding right now too and knocking down the wall. So I have a lot of stuff going on.
I love it. That's like juggling, the giant beach balls of things.
I forgot about that. I'm like, I'm about to start a massive project. But yeah, that too.
I'm glad you remembered before the show is over, and then you would have kicked yourself. Oh, what's interesting? I think I've been drunk maybe like 1,000,000 times with friends of mine, and we've all talked about how we want to start a bar, and it just never happens. You fucking just did it.
Yeah.
You're like, and now you're just like, I'm going to do another one and then expand. And then, so are you a raging alcoholic now? Like, since you're able to just drink for free?
I just sip.
Yeah.
So Wayne as a whole, Wayne turned bourbon into a whole,
dude, Wayne's crushing it.
Empire, which I got to talk to him about if TikTok goes away. I don't know what he's going to do, but he's around it sipping. I like to drink. It's cool.
Tough business to be in, not to like it.
It's so tough, and that would be advice too. Like, just take it easy. Like, that product's there for sale. You can have fun when you want to have fun, but then all of a sudden you wake up when you're 40 and you're like, all right, we gotta go back a little bit, pick your battles. No, as far as opening a bar though, it's not. It's very, very risky, but actually the mechanics of like doing it now that I know is not that hard. And that's something that I wish, if I had time, I would love to explain to people that are hustlers and entrepreneurs and want to do it. Restaurant industry is typically not what you want to go to when you want to make money. But if someone wanted to do it, like the drunk bar talks about opening a bar, now I know how to do that. And it's wild once you know that it's not as difficult to actually do it. It's very risky, But if someone, if I had an outlet, I like talking about it. I like doing. I haven't done any consulting. Well, the ice cream store was kind of consulting, but I eventually probably want to get into consulting. So
that'd be cool. What's your favorite thing about it? About the bars, and like even take the venue out of it, because that we all know why that is fun and why you would love it. But like just restaurants and bars in general, like what is it that draw? Is it like the community factor? You're around people, or just the challenges and the nonstop grind?
The nonstop grind, which I need a better balance of, especially now with the baby, which is, but I think it's because I figured it out that I'm so proud of it, and I like learning, and I like when someone, when you nail one part of it, because like you were saying before, there's so many parts to the restaurant thing. You nail it and you feel really confident about it. I'm like, what's the next thing that I can nail? Like right now I'm honing in on catering. I really want to get really good at that and maybe do a food truck or something. And I think that motivates me to be better. And also being able to do cool stuff like have a restaurant in a normal kind of affluent town, and we're playing Alkaline Trio, and normal people are just like, fine. And that to me is good enough. And we write a great review like, the music's awesome. I don't know what it is, but it's great. So the music's tied in with it too. But yeah, when I see a couple that like got a babysitter to like come out and like this is their one time that they're coming and they chose to go to my place, that's still gets me. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I could see you opening up a brewery or something. That's a vibe I get. A really cool brewery.
Sure. Yeah.
I could as well see that, actually. You look like a brewery right now.
Thanks, man.
You're so brewery looking.
But also, that's not a good business model right now, because you know what everyone's drinking now? Coronas. No one wants these IPAs anymore.
I don't like IPAs. I'll admit it. I'll be the first one. I like a nice lager.
We did a show at a brewery in New Jersey recently. That was like, they had maybe one or two IPAs, like nothing crazy, and there was a lot of like just regular lager types and lighter type beers, and it was fucking awesome. Autodidact, check them out.
That's definitely the trend right now. Is definitely trending that way for sure.
Yeah, it was cool, and they had a really cool spot. They had a stage in there for like random shows. Sometimes it was just like a welcoming place to be.
Great.
So.
And like anything, everything's cyclical. That means Alfie should make a comeback soon. I'm around. Everything needs to come
around.
I thought I'd seen it all. I saw All Show Paris just back up, and I'm seeing all over Instagram that Snot is getting back together and playing some shows. Like,
so many bands are back.
Crazy.
So many bands are back. Dan Valentino, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I love you very much. You mean a lot to me, and you are now a tour bud with us. And we love you. Yes.
Just before you really fully wrap it up, let's next week, what are we doing?
Oh, yes.
Do you want to tell people?
Yeah, so next week I'm pretty stoked about it. I'm not gonna get emotional at all. So we're having my favorite band, my favorite vocalist, the vocalist of Misery Signals, Jesse Zaraska, will be on Tour Buds Live next week on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Please show up, listen.
I think it's later, isn't it? We're doing 9:30.
9:30 his time. He's at Mountain Time.
Oh, right. Cool. Okay.
So that's a very cool show.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I'm pretty stoked about it, and I can't wait to get deep and vibe out with Mr. Jesse Zaraska. I think he's going to be. I've met him a couple times, and he seems really cool, and I think he's pretty fucking insightful. So, thank you for reminding me, Derek Garabedian. I fucking love you. You're the best. Dan Valentino, everybody. He's the business guru extraordinaire. And everyone go to, if you're in Huntington, Long Island, go to Vauxhall. If you want to see a good show, go to AMH in Amityville. check it out, check him out, and go support, because he is the fucking man. He's generous, he is kind, he's a loving man, and people love him. Everyone loves him. And I can't thank you enough. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, everybody.
Great talking to you guys. Good luck with this. This is awesome. We should talk about, if you're going to want to do band interviews, well, I have a place. So let's definitely talk about that. Yeah.
Let's do it. Awesome. Be good to meet you in person as well.
Hells yeah.
We're going to do a 3-way hug. All right. I love you. And thank you. Tour Buds out. Boom. Later.